Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to this Islamic teaching session, during which we will be talking about the difference between the Islamic finance banks and the traditional banks. Instead of speaking about the conceptual and the theoretical aspect of the differences between the Islamic banks and the traditional bank, I will be illustrating and explaining these differences in the essence of the practical aspect. Let's imagine for a second that we have two individuals, one called Abdullah and the second person called Muhammad. Both of them, they have saving worth of 5,000 Bahraini dinars. So Abdullah, because he is a believer and he follows the principles of Islam and he follows the rules of Islam, he only deals with Islamic banks. On the other hand, Muhammad is indifferent between dealing with an Islamic bank or a traditional bank, as long he will get a return on his investment. So both of them will go and place his saving with the bank. Abdullah will approach an Islamic bank, placing his wealth with the Islamic bank, while Muhammad will go to a traditional bank. So when Abdullah walks to the Islamic bank, he have to choose among different type of accounts, whether he want to place it in a current account or saving account or the other various terms and type of account that are available with the Islamic bank. On the other hand, Muhammad will have the same options, but with a different contractual relationship between him and the traditional bank. We will go back to Abdullah that just walked to the Islamic bank and asked them to place his fund with them. And as I mentioned, he will have variety of options. He can place his fund in a current account where the relationship between him and the Islamic bank is based on the contract of loan. As we mentioned in one of these learning sessions, that loan in Islam should be based on the basis of interest-free relationship. When I lend or I borrow, it should be free from any interest. So if Abdullah decided to place his fund in a current account, he would expect that he will not receive any amount on the top of his investment or on the top of his deposit. He will expect to not receive any return or income on his deposit, because the relationship is on the basis of qard, which is free from any interest. The same will apply on Muhammad, because if he chooses to place his deposit with the conventional bank in a current account, there will be no additional charges or interest on the top of his deposit. While if Abdullah chooses to place his fund in a saving account, this where it comes the differences between the Islamic bank and the conventional bank. So when he places his deposit in a saving account with Islamic bank, there are different forms of relationship between the Islamic bank and the deposit holders or the investment account holder. The first type is the mudaraba, which also based on one of the fundamental principles of Islamic finance, which is the profit and loss sharing. In this sort of arrangement, where the client places his fund with the Islamic bank, he would expect to earn a return on the top of his initial amount, the initial deposit. This, what we call it al-mudaraba, which is when someone provides the capital to the financial institution to be deployed and utilized in certain businesses on the basis that the profit will be shared between the client and the bank on a pre-agreed ratio. For example, this pre-agreed ratio could be that the client will get 50% of the profit and the other 50% will be earned by the bank. However, one of the principles in the Islamic finance industry and Islamic finance bank, that this profit or this income cannot be fixed in amount. It cannot be predetermined when we initiate this relationship. It should be only expected and realized at the end of the term of the deposit. Going back to Muhammad, who decided to deal with a conventional bank or a traditional bank, he would also be expecting to receive an earning or income on his placement. However, this is one of the major differences between the Islamic bank and the traditional bank. The relationship between Muhammad and the conventional bank is not based on the profit and loss sharing mechanism. It's based on lending and borrowing basis, where Muhammad can guarantee that he will get his deposit in any circumstances. So the conventional bank has a liability to return the deposit to Muhammad at the end of the term. On the top of the deposit, the initial deposit, the conventional bank has an obligation to pay an additional amount in form of interest. This when it comes to saving and placing a deposit with the conventional bank. Another aspect where Islamic and traditional bank will differentiate is when it comes to financing and providing fund to different group of society who need fund or need financing. Without going to further details and technical aspect of the differences, Islamic banks must abide by the principle of Sharia and by Sharia rules and law when they provide financing. So the form of financing must be acceptable by Sharia. This could be viewed as a restriction or obstacle. One of the principles the Islamic banks must follow, and it will distinguish between the Islamic banks and the conventional bank, that the Islamic bank must follow and adhere to the Islamic principles, to Sharia rules and law, and in providing financing and in deploying and investing the funds. This could be viewed as an obstacle that will restrict the Islamic financing or Islamic bank businesses. However, in reality, this helped the Islamic banks to come up with a variety of contracts and different type of arrangement that meets the client needs and fulfill their objective to comply with Sharia principles. This brings us to the end of this learning session. Hoping to see you in the next episode soon. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.